So there I was, 10K crushed. I felt amazing. I felt strong. I felt confident. I felt the progress I'd made is starting to culminate in results, and I was feeling really proud of that. But the thing is, I'm not that special. My name's Salvatore. I'm a 9 to 5 office worker who likes to dress sharp, drink espresso, ride up steep mountains on the bike, and lace up my shoes, put foot to pavement, and cross that finish line faster than I did the last time, the time before, and to push myself to levels I thought were previously unobtainable, and levels that I can look back and be proud of that I put my time into something like that. Now, chances are there's a lot of people, it seems to be the case now, that you look around and everyone's into running, right? Everyone's loving running, everyone's in a run club, like everyone, like it's this new thing that like, which is cool. But of course, you might be thinking to yourself, actually wanting to pick up running or becoming more consistent at running and figuring out, well, how can I get better at it, in a way that's sustainable and like how to achieve that. And this video is kind of an update on how I'm going recently on July the 14th at the moment, to say that, well, here's how I put it together and here's how I'm seeing results. See, previously I've done a 7-part series where I walk you through in each part, like starting 1 to 7, like the importance of certain elements and how bringing them all together will help to build you into a really, really good runner that will kind of protect you over time and allow you to, get better and better and better, right? So for me, if we kind of backtrack about 6 months ago, I kind of had an injury scare where I thought that like I would have to take some time off running, and I did actually have to take some time off running. But what I learned from that was a number of things. One, I was running too fast too often. And then two, like the way I was going about the running could have been done so in a better way that was like more spread throughout your muscles. And I'll kind of explain those 2 points more. But the first point I need to talk about is pace. Now, the thing about pace is it's basically like the metric that we use to assess our running. Like we kind of know that pacing is important. We hear that, when we run a long race, you need to pace yourself because if you go too hard at the start, you won't be able to finish, which is true. So like in long distance, so in cases of doing like 5 kilometer or really anything over, I don't know, say a sprint, like you have to kind of pace yourself, right? Which is kind of like why pace is such a thing that people look to all the time, right? And it's important. So for me, I like to so for pace, the metric is how fast or what is the time that you run a kilometer in based on the current pace that you're going. See, I use pace per kilometer. Other people, my US audience that are watching, hello, will probably use pace per mile. So how long does it take you to do a mile? I like pace per K. It's simple. It's 1,000 meters. It's 1 kilometer. It's really easy for me, and it kind of sounds faster than like the pace per mile thing. I think it does. So that's kind of like for me something that I like to do. So that's my pace per K, right? And that's important. So that kind of then frames me into my next part, where previously, leading up to December last year, I would do lots of runs, and these runs, these were not great because I just kept thinking everything has to be faster, faster, faster. And what that meant is I was putting like much more load on my body by running kind of like, so the thing is, just quickly, my race pace is just under 4 minutes. But with these like runs of like 3-4Ks every day, I was trying to like edge closer to that like low 4 minutes. And that's kind of like a lot of speed put on my body kind of like day in, day out, which is kind of like a lot more of a load that's being borne upon me. Whereas kind of like now I'd realized that actually I need to slow it down, and my pace actually sits. I've kind of been, more in that 5:30 to 6 minute mark, which is kind of more appropriate for me. Because see, the thing is, that was where I had learned when talking to a professional, someone that could actually advise me on a better way to go about this, about the 80-20 rule, which I've been seeking to apply, and it's in the third video of my 7-part series. The wax on, wax off training, what Mr. Miyagi would teach us, where we have to simply put in that work that might seem instrumentally boring or not super sexy, but that is the bread and butter of what will build our strong base and foundation, because we need to be able to come back and we need to be able to have consistency. And we'll only be able to have that if we can protect ourselves from injury and be smart about it. So then the other facet of the trying to protect myself and really focusing on that now. See, the thing is, by doing a lot of these slower runs, I was also more conscious now of my form in doing so. So before, I was like more trying to land at the forefront of my foot, whereas like now I'm like trying to land, not to put too much effort on it, but like kind of land more in the middle of like my foot, like at this pace of 5:30 to 6. But more than that, I've also been incorporating having my legs like come up more as like each step. So effectively what that does is it has your like other muscles come into play and do more work. So they kind of take the load off what was previously a lot of load that was exerted below the knee, which is kind of course, where the injury scare happened, right? Think of it as this kind of way to have, really important form in the 80% of the time is simply like if you were to do a group assignment and everyone actually puts the work in and, does everything on time, and you've got a really good project that you can submit, you don't have to be up to the last minute, ready to submit it. It's kind of like, that's kind of what that is. Because I kind of learned from this consultation that you've got the intensity, and then you've kind of got the intensity, and then of course there's like the repetition, but there's also kind of like the way that the load's being put on you. So if we could scale back the intensity by running slower and then have a better form, i.e., more muscles to pick up the brunt of the shock to the body, the better place we will be to recover and then be able to build that consistency. Which then takes me to yesterday when I did the 10K run. At the time, this 10K run, I was in my mind thinking, well, I'm going to go 5:30, 6, 10Ks, pretty good. I think I feel nice, ready to go. But that's the thing. So when I was doing that, the times were starting to come in really nicely, kind of really organically, and it felt really easy, which gets me to think that the easy runs are now faster, if that makes sense, because like I've built that base. So I noticed that a lot of these like pace per Ks on my watch, when I'm checking it, are coming in at like 5:17, 5:20, 5:19, 5:08, like without really putting that much more of an effort on it, by just simply having good form, being conditioned by doing lots of practice, like time and time again. Whereas if you contrast this to me previously, when I kind of had that scare, like going into this run yesterday, like I was kind of sick a week before, but I kind of just brought it back up the run and just at the 80%, like just the slower runs, building that consistency, giving the body time. Whereas previously, I kind of had more of a rugged determination to think, well, you haven't run for a bit, let's go straight into like an interval run where you're doing 1K intervals with very, very fast pace, with not much recovery, and you're going for it. And then a couple of days later, you're going to do a race. That's just like way too much of a load and not enough time to recover, and a recipe for disaster. Whereas now, I'm kind of in a much smarter frame of mind where I'm like taking my time, listening to some music, listening to a podcast, to really build that base, using running to kind of cross train and stretch my body from all the cycling and sitting on my desk all day, because I'll be like, oh, my legs are tight, I could stretch for 20 minutes or go for a 20-25 minute run. I'll do the run instead. So it's kind of like just framing your mind about how to better better do these things to build that consistency, which is what I'm trying to share with you and show you how it's actually become realized right in front of me by just slowly over time building the consistency, sorry. Which is then why I think I was able to run it so quickly and then kind of have more towards the last 2Ks, you know, like just under 459, 459 pace, and then like a 440 for the very last K, because I felt good, I felt okay, my legs felt smart, like I wasn't being too stupid, which is important. So then that kind of gives me the confidence to know that like I'm actually starting to like move the needle, but also I guess this kind of helps me think that, you know, you don't have to run fast all the time, which is true, and there'll be opportunities to do so. So now for me, the reason I'm trying to be really smart about, you know, this level of training I'm doing and being mindful of my body is that in August, on Wednesdays, there's what's known as the Corporate Cup in the city, and you basically run 4.5 Ks, perfect length for me, you know, as fast as you can, and that time gets logged in your team, and then obviously your team has a group time, and then the idea is to get faster every week, and then to, you know, have a team that progresses really well, and then, you know, they get ranked accordingly, you know, as a group based on their time. That's what I'm trying to do. So for me, what I'm seeking to do this coming Wednesday, because it's still a bit of time before that, I'm seeking to do an interval run, see how my body feels, and then kind of just, you know, using that, you know, the next Wednesday to kind of try that again. And in every other run, just nice and easy, take the time, you know, focus on that form, you know, get the legs moving. Like we'll build that ability and confidence to be fit enough to, when the time comes to compete, to be fresh, to be rested, to do my best, and then, you know, take the rest of the week, still run when I do, you know, just take it easy, to know that my body is like, okay, you know, don't have to stress as much. It's not going to put as much pressure to, you know, be able to come back the next Wednesday, and then so on and so forth. I think this is for 4 or 6 weeks. So that's what I'm trying to build for, and show you exactly that this actually works, and that it's actually quite a cool feeling coming out on that other end, because it's kind of like, because you're doing 80% of the training at a certain pace, it's easy, like a talking pace. When it pays off, it kind of feels weird because it's like you haven't really worked on it, but you have. Like you've built the consistency of going on those runs a lot, but you've been disciplined to take it easy. But then you're still getting rewarded with, you know, being able to run slightly faster, or just having really good condition, being ready for the next run, without really having to do anything crazy. And it's only kind of now I'm going to soon incorporate the speed element, the other 20%. So even if like you focus for a lot of it at the start, just the slower runs, being consistent with those, having that good base, finding a good running route, you know, exploring your area, which is talked in videos 1, 2, and 3 of my 7-part series, which I'll link in this, is really all you need to start seeing a great deal of progress, which will then inspire you to kind of like eventually, you know, once a week, really push yourself, and then kind of put the brakes on the rest and just go through the motions, you know, listen to a podcast, learn something new, listen to some nice music, you know, help you have that nice routine, which is how you conquer the mountain and conquer life, right? The idea that by treading the path consistently and kind of, you know, you'll continuously conquer, like I guess the easy mountain every day. You'll just get better at it without even realizing it, say aerobically. And that means that kind of when you're hitting that bigger mountain, you've kind of conditioned yourself enough such that that mountain isn't what you thought it might be in terms of difficulty, but you're able to actually realize your training and have immense fitness gains through that, which is pretty insane, right? To be able to conquer the mountains and conquer life in that way in such a short amount of time. See, for me, being now July, 6 months, which is actually like putting the running effort in, I think it's fantastic. And there's also a fun run that I've got coming up in September, late September, which I'm wanting to put a really good time in. So it's all about just slowly building this, you know, and you know, seeing that manifest. And of course I'll provide you updates on how I go, but I just thought I'd update you on this to say, you know, you can do it, it can happen, and I'm partly an example of that. So believe in yourself and conquer mountains, conquer life.